is Free Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves here. You can bring up whatever happens to be on your mind. Our number for you is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And that is where you can join us, and you'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with me, Ian.
I'm Lee Vincent.
And so big day here in Keene, Vincent, the new Vietnamese restaurant that has made international headlines in recent months, which has the wonderful name of Pho Keene Great. That's actually the name of the restaurant because it's pho noodles, and it's in Keene, New Hampshire, and it's great. They opened their doors today for the first time after, like I said, international press coverage that generated toward the very end of 2018, like right at the very end, post-Christmas, and blew up huge with people all over the world hearing about this restaurant and the controversy, which really the controversy was from what the city of Keene did, where the city manager, whose name is Elizabeth Dragon, she attacked the restaurant, which is trying to rent the city's space that is right next to City Hall here in downtown Keene, and had been renting it for several months before the city manager decided to call her on Christmas Eve and tell her she thought the name of the business was offensive. And
to whom? Offensive to whom?
Wasn't clear. Potentially, it could have been offensive to somebody who was a humorless hack. But
Vietnam vets, you don't want to trigger a flashback.
Ultimately, the city failed in its efforts to intimidate the restaurateurs, and they stood strong for their freedom to call their restaurant whatever they wanted. And they got a bunch of press coverage. I don't know how many millions of dollars worth of free publicity that they were given by various different media that had reported on this. But I mean, they were being talked about on like late night television talk shows.
Oh, really? Any of the big name ones?
Some name. I don't know what the dude's name was. I mean, I don't pay attention to these shows.
I think the biggest place I saw it on was Fox News. It was like they did a whole. It was like a VOSOT pretty much with just text. It was. I was surprised.
What's a VOSOT?
Well, it's like a voiceover sound on tape, but instead of it being a voiceover, it was just text. So I guess they were too cheap to hire someone to do the voice for it. But yeah, it was like a web story on Fox, and they took the time to do graphics for it and make a little video presentation and everything. So it did get pretty big up there.
So yeah, it went all over the place, and the city of Keene, after about 3 weeks, backed down, and they approved the Pho Keene Great sign that was put up, victoriously placed upon the building, and their grand opening was put off by an extra week. They still had some, permitting issues and such, because there's a bunch of, government obedience that goes into opening up a restaurant, unfortunately. And finally opened their doors this afternoon. I was there. Matt was there also, who sometimes appears with us on the after show. I don't know if he'll be joining us tonight, but we will be doing an after show tonight, Twitch only, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can view that at twitch.lrn.fm. And, Matt and I went in there, and there was probably about 25 people. We were about 20 people back in line when we got in line that were waiting to get in today, and they opened up the doors, and, there was applause, and folks went in, and there was probably at least a dozen staff members that were on hand there, and the food was good. So if you get up to Keene, New Hampshire, you definitely want to check out Pho Keene Great. It's right there in downtown Keene in Central Square. And and of course, merchandise was available right there at the front. Our own Chris Reitman from Thursday nights was sitting there at the merch table selling T-shirts and stuff like that. And if you wanted to grab the Pho Keene Great T-shirt and hat and all that stuff, it's over at the Route 101 gift store at route101gifts.com. You can order them online. We've had people ordering them from as far away as Afghanistan and even Australia, as a matter of fact. So we got stuff to talk about here tonight that's still in the news, because it's not really international news when a restaurant opens its doors normally, but in this particular case, it's a follow-up that many of you probably were interested in, hopefully. So you've got a story, Vincent, about Facebook Plus. Marijuana sales are on mostly, according to the story over at bostonglobe.com, most marijuana sales in Massachusetts are on the black market, even though it's now legal to go to physical locations and purchase it. But you wanted to talk about, I guess, an attack on Facebook. Now, by no means am I a fan of Facebook, but it sounds like they may need some defending in this particular case. What's going on, Vincent?
Well, so I saw it on Drudge recently. I don't have it in front of me, but it's what got my attention to it is normally, like, I don't doubt it was Elizabeth Warren saying that antitrust needs to be used against some of these big tech companies like Amazon and Google. Mm-hmm. And normally I'm like, just same old state is trying to get something banned. But what I found interesting about this one is it's what a lot of alt-right people, including Alex Jones and Chris Cantwell, are calling for: antitrust to be used to take down Facebook and Google.
Yeah, I remember when Cantwell had brought that up, because we had an interview with him a little while back, and in fact he's going to be on with Aria DiMezzo on a very special She-Male versus Nazi episode of it's not going to be Free Talk Live, it's just going to be Aria's show with Chris. It's going to air exclusively on Twitch, at least until Twitch takes it down. But yeah, Cantwell at one time, and I actually had gotten into a long discussion about this where he wanted to see the government regulate social media. And I said, Chris, you sound a lot like the communists that you purport to hate. And now you're saying that, indeed, here's Elizabeth Warren coming out with basically the Chris Cantwell position.
So yeah, Elizabeth Warren supports, I guess, I shouldn't say supports, but yeah, has common goals with a crying Nazi. I thought that was one of the...
Politics makes for strange bedfellows, as they say.
So it's here. This is from NBCnews.com. It's titled, Elizabeth Warren calls to break up Facebook, Google, and Amazon. Warren has been part of a growing group of Democrats calling for greater regulation and antitrust enforcement of major tech companies. Even though, what I find strange about her saying this is that most of these companies are, or at least the people working and running it are on most likely her supporters, or at least would support. There's a huge bias for Clinton at Google and everything, so this is curious.
So it does seem like people on the left are more likely to be in the technical or IT kind of fields. It does seem like that.
Well, especially since Silicon Valley's in California.
Sure, yeah, it's a good point.
So Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts on Friday called for the government to break up Facebook, Google, and Amazon, offering a plan to recategorize the companies and reverse some major tech acquisitions. Warren, who is running for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2020, has been a part of a growing faction within the party that has called for greater regulation and antitrust enforcement of major tech companies. 25 years ago, Facebook, Google, and Amazon didn't exist. Now they are among the most valuable and well-known companies in the world, Warren wrote in a post on the blogging platform Medium. It's a great story, but also one that highlights why the government must break up monopolies and promote competitive markets.
Okay, so where's the monopoly? That's what I want to know.
Well, I think when they say monopoly, it's not like Google is going around buying up Yahoo or DuckDuckGo. I think it's just like it's one... and I'm not sure if it's just me guessing what they're saying, because they never elaborate what they mean by a monopoly, either on the left nor the right. I think it's just because most people use these services. I mean, YouTube used to be an independent company, and then it got bought up by Google. Now there's nothing can compete, not Brighteon or BitChute or anything. So I think that's what they mean.
Well, they're wrong, because the word monopoly has a very specific definition. And a monopoly is basically something that exists without any kind of competition, usually enforced by a government.
Which is why they put virtual monopoly, right?
Oh, did she use the term virtual monopoly?
No, I'm just saying in general, a lot of the times when they're confronted by that argument, they say it's a virtual monopoly. That
but most of the time they don't do that.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, but that's a response, right? Because they say it's a virtual monopoly.
That means it's not a monopoly, right? If you put the word virtual in front of it, that basically says it's not a monopoly.
Well, one could say it's a form of equivocation, but I think what they mean
that's totally what it is.
What they mean by that virtual means that there are alternatives, but none of them can compete.
Well,
that Google's always going to be the top dog. I mean, that's what they're saying. I'm just.
Let's talk about that, because at all the times in history where there's been a top dog, the top dog hasn't stayed the top dog forever. It's just not. It doesn't happen.
Usually because of a government or another one.
There's more on the way here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Break up Facebook? What? It is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us right here. The number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 450-3733. The only problem today at the grand opening of the new Pho Keene Great restaurant here in Keene, New Hampshire, was that they don't take cryptocurrency yet. And the funny thing was, I could have bought a T-shirt from Chris Reitman, who was standing at the entrance with cryptocurrency. So the gear is available for crypto, but the food itself, not yet. But if you run a business, you've got a brick-and-mortar place where people come in and buy stuff or buy your services, you can easily get started with cryptocurrency acceptance over at helpmetakebitcoin.com. That's where you can go. It's the folks over at AnyPay, who we've talked a lot about here on Free Talk Live. They've got a great system that makes it super easy. If you've got a tablet at your cash register, you're pretty much almost done. You get started over at helpmetakebitcoin.com, and within moments, you'll be accepting Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, Zcash, and others. It's up to you which ones you want to take. And, of course, there's no fees to accept cryptocurrency through AnyPay. Go to helpmetakebitcoin.com. It's Ian and Vincent in the studio here tonight. Of course, you can bring up whatever you want. We're starting out with a story. Elizabeth Warren, who I guess she's one of the ones running for president, right?
Yes, on the Democrat ticket.
Calling to basically break up Facebook, Google, Amazon. These are three of the names that she actually named.
Yeah, those are in the headline, and yeah, that's the one she named.
And was it she who called them monopolies? Because the word monopoly was brought up here, and these companies were targeted with that word.
Yep. She said, well, I mean, she didn't she just said they need to break up monopolies, so she didn't call any one by name monopoly, but she mentioned it in the same paragraph. So
she's suggesting that the three of those companies are monopolies.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is not true in any way, shape, or form. They are all subject to competition. There's no doubt that Amazon is a huge company. There's no doubt Google is a huge company. Facebook is a huge company. These are definitely three of the biggest companies in the world, if not certainly the tech world. But that doesn't necessarily that doesn't mean they're a monopoly. Monopoly is a single operating entity that is usually enforced. Its monopoly is enforced by the government. Meaning, so like a good example of this is in most places the power company. You have one company from which you can choose. There is no choice when it comes to power companies. Yeah, you could try to go off the grid, maybe get some solar panels or hook up a bicycle to a generator or something like that. So, I mean, there are alternatives, but as far as power companies are concerned, they're usually granted a geographically based monopoly by the local government.
Well, I mean, living in the area I lived in, which had a high number of socialists, and I've come to figure out that when a socialist calls a company a monopoly, it doesn't necessarily mean like the dictionary definition of it. It means any company that's making a lot of money and that they want to shut down, and that they want to shut down specifically.
Well, they don't necessarily want to shut it down. They just want to get more money out of it. They want to regulate it.
Well, when I say shut it down, I mean shut down the way it's working,
the way it's currently operating.
Yeah. So that when they want to, or I should have said go after it. When they want to go after it, they call it a monopoly just because people aren't smart enough to think, gee, is this actually a monopoly? And they just go and say, oh, these people have more money than me, envy, and then take it down.
They didn't care or even know about ride sharing until Uber got big. You know, if it was just a few people riding around with, their own cars doing ride sharing, they would never have cared or noticed it for the most part. But once it becomes a threat to the status quo, well, then all of a sudden the government acts like they're very concerned and they need to get involved, and we need regulations. It's safety. It's about the consumer. It's about the children.
Oh, well, I understand when you talk about in the case of Uber or is what they call disruptive technologies, but in this instance, I don't think
Amazon's a disruptive technology.
Well, but all these companies work very closely with the U.S. government.
Sure they do.
And so I don't think in this case, like, this is just my personal thing. It's like for up until now, it's mainly been people on the right who've been censored who are calling for all these companies to be shut down. I think this is the first major leftist figure I've seen. So part of me thinks a lot it's rhetoric because the government likes Facebook a lot. They like Google a lot because they could track what people are doing, and they like Amazon because they do. I think the government might be one of Amazon's biggest customers because all the cloud computing that Amazon's doing. I think Amazon, they get subsidized per package, so they have a very good relationship with the government. Which makes me think this is just rhetoric on her part.
Yeah, well, that's a great point because it probably is, given she's running for office, right? So when politicians run for office, they make all kinds of big promises. Many of them they must know they have no chance of actually making that happen, right? So she can say whatever she wants about how bad she wants to break up these companies, but she knows how dug in they are with the government and that she'll never have a chance of doing it. So it's totally safe for her to make those promises, right?
Oh, especially now that the Democratic, I guess the Democrat sphere is saturated with socialists. That they have to, like with someone like AOC, Elizabeth Warren isn't edgy or hip anymore. So I think we're going to see a lot of these socialists and Democrats try and outdo each other of who hates capitalism more, who wants to give more free stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is.
Well, arguably that's a good thing, right? If they do that. Because then people will push back against it, hopefully?
Well, that's the thing, hopefully. I mean, it might be a good thing just to point and laugh and say, wow, this person wants to give everyone literally free money, or they want to destroy companies. But then once one of these people gets in office or gets elected, because I have zero doubt that there's, majority of people will support just getting free stuff or just any sort of the envy mentality or anything. I mean, I've totally lost hope for the country.
So you don't think Trump can win a second term?
I mean, at this like if he does win a second term, I've underestimated the gullibility of his hardcore supporters. But no, I mean, I think at the current way he's going now, I mean, it's like he's acting like Jeb Bush would have, right? It's like it's just, what I could have imagined from a Jeb Bush presidency. So yeah, I don't think Trump. I think there's a good chance that he won't get reelected in 2020.
If you want to join us, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So what more does Warren or whoever have to say on the subject of breaking up these big tech companies?
Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts on... okay, read that all right. Warren's call also comes as Democrats have begun to plan for an increased oversight of tech companies after taking control of a House. On Wednesday, House and Senate Democrats introduced legislation to establish strong net neutrality protections that would look...
Oh, they're trying to bring it back?
It appears so. That would look to prevent major service providers from using their power to manipulate how users experience the Internet.
Has anybody had a different experience of the Internet since they rolled back on this net neutrality stuff? Remember when Trump rolled that, the FCC rolled it back under Trump?
Yeah, via Ajit Pai, and he had a video explaining it. Yeah, I remember when net neutrality was a big thing, and it was like... It was so deceptively marketed towards people. And I remember I supported it at one point, and then I realized, because it's like, oh, these big companies, and then I realized, well, wait a minute, this is giving power over to the government, which I'm also not comfortable with. So
worse.
It's like, heads they win, tails you lose,
right.
Alien versus Predator.
Whoever wins, we lose. So yeah, that is absolutely the case. And if you want to jump in here, we also have the Discord lines at discord.lrn.fm and 855-450-FREE, like freedom.
Oh, it gets into her plans, too, here. She has she's come up with specifics. Few
Let's
Democrats, however, have actively called to break up tech companies, as Warren did on Friday. Warren said in her post that the consumer experience of most Internet users is dominated by Facebook, Google, and Amazon, which can then, quote, use the Internet to squash small businesses.
Those companies earned it. I mean, as much as I dislike Facebook, the fact is they got where they are by providing people something they wanted. Now, arguably, they've crippled the services that they once provided in order to try to make more money. But anyway, there's more coming up here on the potential breakup of Facebook coming up.
The Bitcoin.com wallet is a simple and powerful full-featured wallet that allows you to send and receive Bitcoin, BTC, and Bitcoin Cash, BCH, with anyone, anywhere in the world. It supports both single and multi-signature wallets and is available in multiple languages. The Bitcoin.com wallet is available on Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, and iOS devices. Use the Bitcoin.com wallet to buy, send, store, and receive both Bitcoin, BTC, and Bitcoin Cash, BCH. Learn more at wallet.bitcoin.com. That's wallet.bitcoin.com.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. Dial toll free here and join us to bring up whatever it is that you want to discuss. We're talking about the false claims about monopolies of Google and Facebook and Amazon. This Elizabeth Warren siding with Nazi Chris Cantwell here in this case, saying she wants the government to regulate these companies.
Well, now, Ian, let's not use hyperbole. Neo-Nazi. Because he's not a member.
Because he's a newer Nazi?
Well, no, because he's not a member of the German's Workers' Party of however you want to pronounce it.
Okay.
So we got to be, consistent. You don't want anyone to accuse you of being hyperbolic here.
So anyway, she says she wants to regulate these big tech companies and claims they're monopolies, which is obviously false on its face, but that's what appeals to people. Nobody likes a big company. And look, I can understand where people are coming from. I mean, big companies suck in a lot of ways.
Oh, especially these ones with all the censorship going on.
Like on Facebook?
Yeah, and the
YouTube.
mining, data selling, changing search results to benefit one party over another, banning, only applying your rules to one political spectrum versus while letting the other one give death threats and such. And that's Twitter. She didn't mention Twitter, but anyway, either way, so I'm sure on Facebook it's the same thing.
So you've got the story from, where was it?
This is from NBCnews.com. Okay. I know, just such a radical place here. Warren said in her post that consumer experience of most Internet users is dominated by Facebook, Google, and Amazon, which can then, quote, use the Internet to quash small businesses and innovation and substitute their own financial interests.
She posted on her Facebook page. And I don't know where she posted. Was it Twitter?
It's a post.
Maybe she's got a blog or something like that. Just curious. It's not that important.
In a blogging platform, Medium.
Okay.
Which I don't know. It could be possible.
Oh, Medium.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do one of those companies that she mentioned own it?
No, I don't know anything about who owns Medium.
There's good stuff on there. I like the platform.
Yeah, I've seen some good stuff on there.
Warren, lost my place. Use the Internet to quash small businesses and innovation and substitute their own financial interests for the broader interests of the American people. Warren's plan calls for legislation that would feature a new business category for companies with more than $25 billion of global revenue that also, quote, offer to the public an online marketplace, an exchange, or a platform for connecting third parties. These companies would be called, quote, platform utilities. That's exactly what Jones and I can't speak for Cantwell, but I think that's what Cantwell says too. That they
make them into a utility.
Yeah, so they can't discriminate who's on or not.
It's disgusting. I mean, when I tried to talk to Chris Cantwell about this, because he used to be a libertarian. As longtime listeners of this show know who Chris Cantwell is, he used to be a co-host here on Free Talk Live. He used to be a libertarian. He was a crass comedian libertarian, and he still is pretty crass. But now he's a literal Nazi, and he's butthurt because these companies, he sees them as being run by leftists, and he wants them regulated so his posts are not censored on these platforms. And I tried to explain to him, Chris, don't you remember when, the answer was clearly let the market handle this? If you don't like the way a company is doing business, don't put your content there. Go somewhere else. There are other options. I mean, you suggested that they can't compete, Vincent, but that's not true.
Well, I didn't suggest that. Well, actually,
you did earlier.
Well, I'm saying what they think, but I suppose I also do agree that it's once you have so many people, right? People are born with YouTube. There's YouTube Kids, right? Mm-hmm. You have some children born at ages as young as 2 have a tablet. And I'm even hearing about videos for babies on YouTube. So when you have all these companies with children, it's going to be like a Weyland-Yutani situation.
The fictional company from the Alien movies. Anyway, the suggestion that these companies can't, or the smaller companies can't compete, is just not true. There are other options out there. You don't have to buy things on Amazon. There are plenty of other dealers online that will sell you things.
Telegram is way better than Messenger.
As far as Facebook Messenger is concerned,
there's and it's becoming more mainstream too. Telegram. I've been seeing a lot more different diverse Telegram groups, different organizations having a Telegram.
And there are other social media companies and organizations. So I mean, of course, Twitter's also a big corporation, but it is a competitor to Amazon, or excuse me, not Amazon, to Facebook. And there's even an alternative to Twitter called Mastodon that Free Talk Live has an account on over at toot.freetalklive.com. That's where you can follow our toots on Mastodon.
Oh, yeah, and a whole other group of 12 people.
No, there's actually hundreds of thousands of people on Mastodon across the world, and there are thousands of Mastodon servers because it's decentralized. So there's no one person who's in charge of every Mastodon server. It's each server has their own administrator, and each server gets to set their own rules.
Well, I'm just saying, like, in terms of reach and, like, how many people are on there, just because every time I log on to Mastodon...
You can't reach anyone on Facebook unless you pay them.
Oh, yes.
So this is the mythology around, part of the mythology around Facebook, that they smartly built for themselves, because at one time you could easily reach your friends and your followers on Facebook, and then Facebook basically pulled that feature and made it paid only, to where when you post on Facebook, some people will see it, but it'll only be a fraction of your followers. Like a fraction of, meaning like a very small number of your followers. Not 2/3, but like 1/10 or 100th or something like that. So you can't really reach people on Facebook. If you give them $20, they'd be happy to show your thing to their
which
friends.
Sort of does bring into the question if, what's the point? What's the point of having this Facebook page advertised for to get like 100,000 likes just to have like a fraction? Like
I'm telling you, it doesn't make sense, and that's one of the things. I left the Free Talk Live page behind with 90,000 likes on it, and it's still there. There are still people who are kind of taking care of it. My roommate actually is one of the people who posts to it just because it's fun, because some people see it, because the audience is large enough to where, maybe a couple hundred people out of the 90,000 will see your typical post there, which is nothing, right? 200 or 300 out of 90,000 that's pennies. And
when I'll say another issue about these alternatives is like creating internet gulags in a way, right? Like take Gab, for instance, right?
Okay,
Gab is where
this is the sort of right-wing
it's
alternative.
For everyone. Well, I mean, it's most of its users are right-wing. It's for anyone. So I mean,
but they have the frog in the logo, right? So like that's kind of like a hallmark. It's sort of a telltale indicator that this might be a right-wing website, because for whatever reason the right-wingers on the internet have adopted the frog.
Pepe the frog, which actually is, I think it's trademarked or copied.
Yeah, they didn't use Pepe. They used some other frog.
It would have gotten sued. But it's like, so on Gab, it's like, and I'm sure if I spent more time on Mastodon, I'd find this is the issue on Mastodon also. It's like you have all these people who get kicked off these platforms or, disgruntled with these platforms. They all agree. It becomes a total echo chamber, right? And so no new people are getting any info. And it's just like the same people just going on the same things, and it's like and into oblivion, right? Speaking into oblivion, and they get forgotten.
Well,
right?
All of these platforms have the echo chamber function to them. I mean, most people.
Well, not always. Back before Twitter started becoming biased in their bannings, it used to be a great place for people to have discussions, and it was like a commons, right? It was like a free speech commons of the 21st century.
Well, that's what Cantwell wants, right? He wants the government to force these companies to be a commons.
And and I will add, it's like they use a real life as an example, but like in some places there are no free speech commons, like in Hanover, right? There's here in Keene versus Central Square, which is owned by the government, right? It's government.
Right.
In Hanover, maybe it's because it's a college town, it's the Green, right? And a private company, Dartmouth, owns most of the land there. So my friend Dave, who's been banned from Dartmouth property for coming out against some of her pollution practices, he's banned from all Dartmouth property.
Mm-hmm. So he can't go to the commons.
He can't go. No, not just the commons. He can't go like half the places in Hanover.
Wow.
So I mean, this is I brought it up as a example of a no real life commons, but this is what happens when you give companies too much power.
855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. I wouldn't call that giving companies power. It's just ownership of land. Don't like it, don't live there.
Yeah, but they're symbiotic with the town of Hanover, so.
Well, that is a problem. And
that's what I'm saying. Like some of these companies, well, maybe not symbiotic. They have deep ties into the government. So I'm not saying I'm not supporting what Elizabeth Warren's saying. I'm just saying these companies don't deserve any defense or support.
We got more on the way here. Well, I still will have to support them because the government is worse. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to go to there and use Facebook's product. There's more coming up. Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll free to join us here to bring up whatever is on your mind. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm, so feel free to join us there. And with you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
Don't forget, coming up later this evening, we're going uncensored, or at least no FCC censors. I got to be careful because Twitch does have their own censor, policies, but they're not as bad as the FCC. So no FCC censorship after 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to freer talk live on the Twitch platform, only on Twitch through twitch.lrn.fm. If you're not following us on Twitch yet, then please drop by our Twitch channel and hit the follow button. You do need to have a Twitch account. That's free. And if you've got an Amazon account, you pretty much already are on Twitch. You just don't know it because Amazon owns Twitch. They bought it a few years ago.
Monopoly, Ian, it's buying up everything.
No, it's not buying up everything. There's plenty of video streaming services out there that are not run by... In fact, Amazon is a competitor to YouTube. Twitch is YouTube. I would say it's its biggest competitor right now. I don't know if there's anything else out there. Vimeo, I'm not sure what kind of market share they've got.
Very niche for Vimeo.
Yeah, it seems like Vimeo's more of like targeted at the filmmaker world.
Well, I think... And maybe this is going too far off topic. I think in some of these cases, a free market solution to these, I guess, so-called virtual monopolies, is that a lot of people are just going to stop using it, because if it's just an echo chamber, right? Everyone believes it, it's just all leftist echo chambers. People are going to leave because it's going to be boring, right? And you might as well just go to your library. So, I'm even thinking for my business leaving YouTube and going to BitChute, because BitChute, BITCHUTE.com, it doesn't mess around.
Isn't that a crypto-based one? Isn't that based on the blockchain or something?
I'm unsure. I just been liking it a lot. It doesn't have a terrible user interface like Brighteon, formerly known as Real.video. And yeah, I've just been preferring BitChute. I just wish there's more people on there, or at least my followers. I think it'd be worth Free Talk Live getting a BitChute on there.
Yeah, it's one of those sites where I'm looking at their main page right now. It's one of those sites where it just infinitely scrolls, so you can't go to the bottom of the page and try to learn more. Okay, here's a menu on the left. Never mind. So I'm not sure. I know I've heard about this, and I'm curious to know what its blockchain, if it's related to Bitcoin. Oh, it's BitTorrent. Okay, so BitTorrent is the old file sharing system where it's sort of noteworthy because a lot of the Pirate Bay and other sites like that use torrents. So this is some sort of a torrent-based thing. So meaning that each video that you upload must have to have seeds in order for it to be available, right? Have you actually used the product, or are you just familiar with it existing?
Well, no. I don't know how the mechanics of it work. I do have quite a few videos up on there, and some of them have, obviously not like YouTube levels of popularity, but I've.
Do you have to run an app?
No. Okay. It's pretty easy for me. All I do is just upload
to the website.
Yep.
And then there's no app that you have to run.
No, not on my none. But I've noticed.
Yeah, that's something I'll have to learn a little bit more about. But Free Talk Live is up on, or at least Free Keen, I think, is on Library. Maybe we need to get Free Talk Live up there one of these days. Anyway, the toll-free number, if you want to join us here, is 855-450-FREE. So the quote that you were reading from Elizabeth Warren about Facebook, Google, Amazon, she called them what kind of utilities? They're going to make a new class. She's got some law.
Platform utilities.
Platform utilities. It was over $25 billion in revenue, if I recall correctly.
Global revenue. So now all these companies are going to try to figure out a way to hide their money in space.
Well, or they could just have subsidiaries or whatever that aren't the same company, but they're basically the company, kind of like how companies can have these different sub-companies.
Shell companies. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not Google. It's not Google. It's Google France. That's a different company. It's got a different LLC or a different name to it.
Or they just divert all of their revenue. I don't know, or maybe it's profits. They divert all of her revenue into stock buyback, just inflating the price of her stock. Or just all the. There's if anything passes, there's going to be ways for the top 1% of a 1% of these CEOs and companies to get around it. Yeah, it's always the little people who have to deal with the taxes, right? The people who matter, the big people, they're always in a back room somewhere cutting deals, and they make off like bandits.
Well, right, and of course, like you said, these companies have major connections to the government. They're not going to do anything to upset them too much. And this is just tough talk. This is just political, talk for the purpose of campaigning. That's all this is.
It could be, or I think one way that it could work out to Amazon's and or all these companies in the government's favor is, and there's some talk of it's the days of the internet being the Wild West are over, right? With ICANN and everything. So one theory is that soon the internet is it's going to be like cable, right? There's going to be a few thousand websites you could visit, Netflix, YouTube, all those, and everything else is just tightly controlled and regulated. So
I don't agree with that. That's paranoid.
Well, people would have said 100 years ago, like, there's not going to be a perpetual income tax. You're being paranoid. There's not going to be cameras everywhere and smart TVs listening to you. You're paranoid, but it could happen. So I'm just saying this is something that could happen. So if a whole platform utility thing, they could say, you have free speech. You have all these different companies, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and it's all protected. Then it's obviously not going to be protected. It's going to be a gigantic screw job. So I think that might be one angle that they might be trying to play at. But, on Vero, we don't know.
Tell me more about what she has to say. Or whatever.
Warren pointed to Amazon's operation of its marketplace and its sale of Amazon, quote, basics as an example of a violation of a proposed legislation. She also said that Google's...
What? Amazon's basics violate her proposed legislation?
Operation of its marketplace and its sale of Amazon, quote, basic.
I'd like to know more. I mean, I'm not saying you would know this, but I'd love to have her explain how it is that Amazon's selling what is essentially a generic brand, private label product. So, like, in my drawer over here, there's batteries from Amazon. They're the Amazon, I think Basics is what the
the charger. I just pulled it up. Amazon Basics. So batteries, office accessories, kitchen and dining, pretty much anything you could think of.
Yeah, it's just it's essentially like, when you go to Sam's Club or you go to Walmart, they've got great value. So, like, these different stores have what are called private labels. They are essentially products that, in a lot of cases, mimic or are made to the specs of name brand products, but they ultimately cost a lot less because these companies don't have the distribution. They've already got the distribution systems in place, and they don't have to spend money to advertise their own products because they're right there on their own website.
And it's like it always comes up at the top of the results.
Sure, yeah, and they're cheaper. And from what I can tell, the batteries seem like they're just as good as Duracell.
So she continues, it's not just Amazon she's talking about here. She also said that Google's various businesses would need to be so they can't create a bunch of subsidiaries or shell companies.
Would need to what?
Would need to be separated, including its ad exchange and its search engine. Warren also said that she would be looking to federal...
I'm not sure what that's going to accomplish.
It's... she hasn't thought about it.
She doesn't know what she's talking about,
this
probably.
Is like Green New Deal levels of speculation, although it's obviously more feasible to implement than Green New Deal. Warren also said that she would be looking to federal regulators to undo some recent mergers, including Amazon's ownership of a grocer, Whole Foods, and e-commerce website.
She wants to undo that. She wants to force Amazon to sell Whole Foods.
Yeah, man, this is getting pretty
it's central planning is what this is. She believes she knows what's best. She believes her version of the marketplace is the one that would work the best, which is, total hubris on her part.
Oh, I was going to say, it's like in Atlas Shrugged when the government just takes control of all the businesses and starts making business decisions and everything.
Mm-hmm. And making poor business decisions. If you want to see what this is like, look down in Venezuela, because the government there has taken over hundreds of businesses over the last 2 decades and run them into the ground. At least that's the report. Those are the claims. Now, of course, we never really know what is and isn't true over there.
Or propaganda, yeah. Facebook's ownership of WhatsApp and Instagram, and Google's ownership of the navigation app Waze and home device company Nest.
Break them up. Break them all up.
Unwinding these mergers will promote healthy competition in the market, which will put pressure on big tech companies to be more responsive to their user concerns, including about privacy, she wrote. Facebook
right, because remember, you always want to look to the government for expertise on privacy.
Exactly. Facebook and Amazon declined to comment on Warren's plan. Google did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Luther Lowe...
Because what are they going to say? I mean, laughing at her wouldn't probably be an appropriate response.
Well, they're probably like madly dialing the phone of all of our lobbyists, telling them to do something. Luther Lowe, Senior Vice President of Government Relations at Yelp, which has repeatedly claimed that Google uses its search engine to scuttle competitors, said Warren's plan was, quote, refreshing and ambitious.
So you competition
direct competition.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Over in the UK, Facebook has been labeled as digital gangsters by government people there. You got comments? You can share them here. It's Free Talk Live.
Go to themorganreport.com and receive updates and insights you will not find anywhere else on the web. You will discover how to grow and protect your wealth under all market conditions. The Free Morgan Report provides interviews, webinars, question and answer sessions, plus mind-blowing videos. As David Morgan says, let my passion create your wealth. TheMorganReport.com. TheMorganReport.com. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. We're launching into the second hour of the program, and you can dial toll-free to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. We also have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. Just connect to one of those. You'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. We're going to the phones, and then coming up, since you brought up this breakup of Facebook, Google, and Amazon being proposed by Elizabeth Warren, taking the side of Nazis like Chris Cantwell, it's kind of an interesting combo there.
Well, and Alex Jones. I would say Jones has been one of the most vocal proponents of
government regulation of social media.
Oh,
and such.
Specifically saying use antitrust.
So we can talk further on that, because it's not just the U.S. government that's targeting Facebook. There's a story out of The Guardian about the UK government calling them digital gangsters, which is an interesting accusation coming from the government, who are, of course, real-life gangsters. But let's go first to your calls and thoughts. Stuart is starting things out here tonight, listening online. Go ahead, Stuart, in Arizona.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Oh, I just wanted to relay some information I got from listening to thousands of hours of liberty-oriented podcasts.
All right.
And my three main teachers were Free Talk Live, Ernest Hancock, and Mark Passio. And when you listen to enough of those, you get to a point where you kind of figure out what your rights are and how that leads to freedom.
Okay.
And I came to the realization that I don't have the natural right to pay income tax, because that's used to force other people to pay involuntarily their money.
Well, I mean, the way you worded that is confusing to me. I mean, the natural right to pay income tax, I mean, there is no natural right to pay income tax. That's not the idea of a right. I mean, a right in the discussion that we're having, as I understand it, is essentially what you can't be forced to do, right? Like the things that you have inherently that no one else can infringe upon. I mean, if you want to pay income tax, I mean, you certainly have a right to pay anybody anything you want. If you have a thing, you can give that thing to somebody else or a group of somebody's. But I don't know, it's strange wording.
I don't believe you have a right to pay into a protection racket that goes around harassing other people.
Well, I mean, you have a right to do with the things that you have, right? Like if you have things, if you believe in property and you believe that, you have property and other people also believe in property, you can give your property to whoever you want to, even if it's a criminal gang. If you want to choose to give your property to a criminal gang, maybe you want them to protect you or do you some kind of a favor or whatever, you absolutely have a right to give money to a criminal gang if that's what you want to do.
I believe you have a duty to understand the effects of your actions on other humans.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely are a bad person if what you're doing is giving money to a criminal gang, but you have the right to do it. You have the right to be a bad person, and that's usually essentially where a lot of libertarianism, I think, falls down, or where the non-aggression principle falls flat, is ultimately it's not enough. The non-aggression principle, which is sort of the libertarian base principle, the idea that you shouldn't use aggressive force against peaceful people in order to get your way, is just sort of like a playground basic that most of us learned in preschool. But unfortunately, it's just not good enough. It doesn't say that you should also be good to people. It just says you shouldn't aggress against them.
Correct, and this is they gave us the wrong lesson as children. Right action that covers your rights. Wrong actions are not your rights, and that's the simplest way of explaining what rights are.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree, because again, I think you have a right to be and do wrong things.
Well, with the talk of rights, I think it's much more simple to, and I forget who said it, but it was some libertarian philosopher or thinker who said that it should be, when you talk about positive rights, right? People think right of, right to happiness, right to health care, but really the most constructive way to think about it is negative rights, which is where the non-aggression principle comes in, right? You don't have a right to, health care. You don't have a right to life because, there's no one except yourself to uphold that. Compared to negative rights, there's only one negative right. You can't use force against someone else, right? That's the only it's difficult to explain.
Positive and negative rights are such a confusing sounding
I think negative,
concept.
I think it's more simple just to have a negative right? You can't hurt anyone else, right? That's the right. I keep saying right afterwards, so it's probably confusing.
Well, I
people,
mean, you're putting it in a way. Again, I don't know what the best way to explain it is, but the idea, as I understand it, behind a negative right is a negative right doesn't require somebody else to do something. Meaning,
exactly.
You have the right. If you have the right to bear arms, that just means other people can't stop you from having the things that you want. In this case, arms. Whereas
sure they can. I was convicted of a felony in my young age, and they took away that right.
Now you're talking about the difference between rights and reality.
Right.
No. Now you're talking about the difference between the concept of rights and the reality of the implementation of rights. And the reality is you don't really have the rights that they say that you have because they're not respected. If other people,
because that's not where the rights come from. Rights come from nature, from nature's God, from the creating God.
Sure. I mean, you can say that if that's what you want, but of course, atheists also believe in rights, a lot of them, and they don't have to necessarily believe they come from God, because ultimately they come from people. They came from people who wrote down some good ideas. Rights are a good idea, and they said, hey, this would help if we all agreed to these good ideas, and most people thankfully
what I'm getting at. I think that lesson is incorrect and has caused most of the societal problems that we see now.
Which lesson is incorrect?
That rights are granted by your society or by other people.
Okay, so that's not what I was saying, but you're right. That is certainly a misconception of rights. The idea that a government could grant you a right is false, because if rights come from individuals, then government people don't have any extra rights to hand out.
Well, and even
more than you,
and even like the earliest documents of the government or the former republic's founding, it even said that, right? According to the federal government, rights don't come from the government. It comes, I guess in their wording, they said it comes from God. But they're taught. I mean, you say they're teaching the wrong thing. Well, to them, right, to the government, no, they're teaching the right thing, right? They want people to think that rights come from the government.
Of course they do.
Yeah, but it's incorrect.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
It is absolutely incorrect. But it's not to say that it's incorrect that rights come from the people generally, as far as not that they're granted, but that they're recognized, that an individual who believes in rights will reciprocate that towards others and sort of view those other people as having rights. Whereas that's not a granting of rights, because, again, if everybody has rights, you don't have rights to give because everybody already has them. But the idea came from people. Now, you can say that it came from God, but it was people who wrote it down. It was people who talked about it. And, of course, my view, of course, is the pantheist view, and that everything is God. And so, therefore, anything that comes from people is also coming from God. So ultimately, rights are a good idea. But as long as people disobey that idea, as long as they don't respect that idea consistently, rights don't exist. Because, like you said, if the government can just take your rights from you, then you don't really have rights, do you?
Well, I still do have rights. I just have a different level of danger to worry about.
I'm not sure I understand. What do you mean?
Rights can't be removed.
Well, I mean, they can be removed because what are you going to do about it?
I mean, the same thing I did about my right to smoke pot for the first, 20 adult years of my life in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm. You did it anyway, is what you're saying.
Yeah, just nullify.
Sure, but if you're in the presence of a police officer in Salt Lake City and you strike up a joint, what's going to happen?
Oh, then you're talking about a different. You're talking about a level of danger.
Yeah, you're talking about a man who will not respect your right to inhale what you want into your lungs. and that man will possibly kill you, or woman, or whoever it is. That uniformed officer will possibly kill you if you continue to resist their efforts to take away the joint from your mouth.
Absolutely. Well, but I don't know, maybe roll it around in your mind and think about the thought that possibly right.
Stuart, good call, man. Good call. I definitely appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. I'm not against rights. I'm in favor of that idea. I'm just saying there are enough people who aren't, unfortunately, and they're in the government, and they're willing to use violence to make sure you don't believe that you actually have rights. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free to join us here. Bring up whatever is on your mind. Our number is 855-450-FREE, and Bitcoin.com is your premier source for everything Bitcoin-related. It can help you choose a Bitcoin wallet. Buy some Bitcoin. Remember, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. They are divisible down to 8 decimal points. You know, the U.S. dollar, only divisible down to 2 decimal points. 8 of them with Bitcoin. So you can get a fraction. You want to buy $20 worth of Bitcoin, it's no problem. You can do that.
Want to buy one Satoshi worth of Bitcoin?
That's a little harder. That's hard to do because the Satoshi is such a small – you're talking about the smallest fraction of a Bitcoin. It's a pretty small amount of money.
It's possible. I bought was a turtle coin. That was like 2 Satoshis per coin, and I bought several 100,000 of those.
Per coin? What do you mean?
Turtle coin. It was like 2 Satoshis per coin.
Meaning that one turtle only had 2 Satoshis making it up?
It was only worth 2 Satoshis in
Oh,
conversion.
one turtle was worth 2 Bitcoin Satoshis,
yes.
Is what you're saying? Okay. Because the term Satoshi can also be used generally to refer to the smallest fraction of any cryptocurrency.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
So the smallest fraction of a turtle would be called a Satoshi as well, generally. But anyway, we can talk about whatever you want here. Go to Bitcoin.com. You can get the latest news headlines there. You can engage with the community on the Bitcoin forum. They even have a Bitcoin Academy where you can learn the basics about cryptocurrency. It's definitely not too late to get involved. Go to Bitcoin.com as we go to the phones with your calls and thoughts. Gene is the Christian anarchist. He's on the line on our Discord server. Go ahead, Gene.
Good evening. I wanted to talk about something that people kind of get confused about, and that is the word truth.
Sure.
And this comes into play whether we're talking about religion, whether we're talking about politics, whether we're talking about rights. There's a movie called Cloud Atlas, one of my favorite. And Sanmi 451 has words of wisdom, and she says, "Truth is singular. Its versions are mistruths." So when we're discussing things that we don't know for sure, which is the attitude I take with religion, because, I don't know for sure if my view of religion is right. There is only one truth.
Doesn't that make you an agnostic instead of a Christian?
No. Because Christianity is what I believe in.
But you're not sure it's right. So you believe in it, but you're not sure it's right.
Or I'm not 100% sure it's the truth.
I see.
Correct. So truth, we can argue about details all day long, but there is only one truth. There either is a God or there isn't a God. One is true, one is not true. We don't really know which one of those is true. We can discuss it, but in the end, there's no way to prove or disprove. Now, there are things...
Unless you meet God, in which case then you would know.
Yeah, I think he means in this level.
And supposedly, we're going to meet him when we pass, so I'm hoping that I'm right. I mean, if I'm wrong, it's no big deal, right? But anyway, this isn't really a discussion about religion, but more on facts, because there is only one truth on everything. The earth is either flat or it's round. Well, of course, I think it's pretty clear to most people it's round. But
yeah.
So this idea when we talk to people that, well, that's your truth and this is my truth, that's really a mistaken position to take. Everybody should realize that maybe their truth isn't what they think to be truth isn't truth. So there are certain rock solid things we can prove, but when it comes to things like rights, for instance, do rights exist? Do they not exist? Well, they probably exist, but we can't really prove that they exist.
Well, they certainly don't exist in physical space. So they only exist as an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how else they could exist.
Don't you say the state doesn't exist because it's an idea? So then wouldn't that same thing apply to rights? Wouldn't that apply to rights?
Rights don't exist.
And you
they
can
only
take
exist in people's minds, just like the state only exists in people's minds.
Okay.
Now, whether or not that a belief in rights manifests into actual application of the idea, which is to say respecting other people's rights, is a whole other question. And whether or not the belief in the state is manifested into an actual, physical reality by virtue of men with guns, with transport trucks, with buildings willing to use violence on others. So, I mean, these ideas can manifest into reality in some very positive and negative ways.
And when we're having discussion, we should try and demonstrate truth, like the discussion regarding whether government is real. We can demonstrate that government is a fiction, a legal fiction. It's even in their wording. So we can demonstrate that to other people, and we can come to the conclusion that that is the truth. There is no other version of truth. That one is the truth. Now, we have to convince people this through demonstrating the facts behind it, just like I try to demonstrate to people that there is no global warming by actually running the numbers on how much CO2 it would take if you burned up all the fossil fuels. That's an argument that I'm trying to point out the truth, which I believe the truth is we're not affecting the planet's climate, and that is my proof behind that. There is only one truth. Either I'm right or I'm wrong, but I demonstrate what I believe to be the truth through the facts that I can present. So I guess what I'm trying to say on this whole discussion is that there are no versions of truth. There is only one truth, but we may not know what that truth is. So we need to kind of keep an open mind when we're discussing with people exactly what the argument we want to make. So I want to make the argument that there's a God. So I will present what I feel is, to me, evidence that there's a God. Now, they can believe it or disbelieve it, but when I present that argument to them, I realize that there is only one truth. Either there is a God or there isn't. And I don't have ultimate proof of that.
Saying something that you believe is, an honest thing to do. And once people start trotting out claims about that they have the truth, I immediately become skeptical, because go ahead.
That's kind of a red flag if somebody says, I have the truth, and I've seen this in my entire life. People say they have the truth about the end of the world. I've heard this thing for at least 3 or 4 different drop dead dates during my lifetime when people said, well, this is it, Christ's coming back, and I see it, and then it goes by, and everybody just kind of, it all just kind of gets shuffled under the carpet, and nobody hears it again. But the point is, they were wrong. That wasn't the truth. And so we need to realize that just because somebody says it, even if 99% of the people on the planet say it, it doesn't make it true. Don't forget, 99% of the people used to think the earth was flat. Now it's down to only 1%. So,
is it? Oh, thank goodness. They're certainly loud for how small of a number of people they are. Gene, good call. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. That's Gene, the Christian anarchist. You want to talk to him? He's hanging out in our Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm. And so Discord allows you to interact with other Free Talk Live listeners around the clock, before, during, and after the show. The Discord server is there, and it's free. So just hop on in there. They'll drop you automatically into the On Air Now channel, but then there's those call-in lines, which is what he was on one of those, and it sounds great. So it's not just voice chat. There's a voice chat aspect, and then there's text chat as well. Most of the people in the On Air Now text chat room during the show, so check that out. But there's also rooms for cryptocurrency and gaming and other things. Discord.lrn.fm. There's more Free Talk Live with your calls. Welcome. Next. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. It's Free Talk Live. Dial in toll free here. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And over the Discord server at discord.lrn.fm, Arterial Salad says, Cloud Atlas is a good movie. He's watched it twice. It's really good after some mushrooms. So I'll have to take that recommendation at some point. I've seen the movie, and it was like one of those movies where I wish I could have watched it a second time, but I was just too busy doing other things, and I just didn't make the time for it. So maybe I'll watch it again another time. Ian and Vincent here. Toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. Coming up, Facebook accused of being digital gangsters by the real-life gangsters over in the UK. But also, we go to the phones and to your calls and thoughts. Tom is in New Hampshire, listening online. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, there's a difference between a right and a freedom. A freedom is when you're actually free to exercise that right, whether it is a natural, a negative right, such as the Fifth Amendment, or a positive right, such as the Sixth Amendment. Oh, listen to these. Okay, the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime. See, this is the right not to be held. Okay?
Right, so that's a negative right.
No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment, yada, yada. And nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. The Fifth Amendment.
But they will compel you to be a witness against somebody else. There was news today about Chelsea Manning being put back in a prison cell on a contempt of court charge because she's refusing to testify in the WikiLeaks case.
And filing for income tax is said to be self-incrimination also.
For sure.
Yeah, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Okay, so that's a negative right. And the Sixth Amendment is a positive right. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation.
Right. Now, of course, this is not an example of a natural right. You're just giving an example of a positive right. This is one created by man, which is basically a completely political concept.
And not only that, but it could not possibly be an inherent natural right because it speaks of a state and a district which has been ascertained by law. And to have the compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. And on that point there, that's in criminal prosecutions. Unfortunately, they left out deportation hearings. And that's why I called up Congresswoman Omar. She's standing up for the refugees and the immigrants. And I told her, she needs to file a bill to help correct that where they get a court-appointed lawyer and an interpreter if they don't know much English. And she should be focusing on putting money on that because if you put, as I think that her efforts to push Medicare for all is going to backfire because when the taxes go up, you get a lot more idiots telling Congress to add more Border Patrol goons. You get people who vote for candidates who support public school, which is a positive right, the right to an education, which she's supporting. And then when their school taxes go up, they tell Congress to add more Border Patrol goons instead of electing candidates who are against public schools. So
what you're saying is they're increasing the size of the government to deal with increasing the size of the government. So you increase the government by creating all these so-called positive rights.
It's a Hegelian dialect, they call it.
Yeah, well, so like problem, reaction, solution.
Exactly. Yeah, they create a problem, they offer the solution, they get what they want.
Tom, thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate it. Toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. It's Sarah in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Vincent.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys something. Okay, all of you guys want the state reps to work for free, right?
I don't want any state rep. Well,
I mean, you guys talk about how we still, all they get is per diems. We get no salary whatsoever, and you think that's so great. But why is it
no, I think it's terrible. I don't think they should get a per diem like that. That's ridiculous.
I think just travel costs. I think that's fair.
So that's what they get in New Hampshire is they get $100 a year plus they get a gas stipend. And what she's talking about is New Mexico, where they get about $160 a day. So, if it's an 8-hour-long day, you're talking about $20 an hour, basically. They're getting paid way more than your typical New Mexican. And I find that insulting. If these people are your servants, they shouldn't be up there raking in a bunch of cash.
Wait a minute. It's still not a salary. Per diem.
I didn't say it was a salary. $160 a day. I know you've never had a job in your adult life, but for most people that are out there working at a job, these bureaucrats, these politicians are getting paid more than people working at most jobs.
In some places, it's like nearly $50,000 a year. Like in Alabama, it's $48,000 a year.
What's $50,000? That's what I'm trying to tell you. That New Mexico, they get no salary whatsoever. We're trying to pay them.
Pay them to
they
put
are
all
being paid $164 a day. Now, really, the question is, how many days does the New Mexico state representatives do they meet? Is it like 3 months out of the year? Is it 6 months out of the year? Do you have any idea?
Well, this year is 2 months.
Okay.
But you know what? It takes them away from their school teachers. They almost get threatened to fire because if they get per diem, they have no money to pay their mortgage payment or car payment.
All right, let's talk.
They should have chosen a better job than being a government goon, or not goon, but bureaucrat.
2 months of work at $20, basically, let's see, $164 a day. So let's call it 45 days because, they're not going to be working on the weekends, right? So let's call it 45 days over 2 months. That's about $7,400, Sarah. That's more money than you make in a year.
Well, she doesn't make any. She's given money.
It goes to the hotel for the gas mileage. How are they going to pay mortgage payment and car payment and their bills with that? It goes
by getting a real job.
For traveling expense.
Yeah, so Vincent's right here. They need to be doing productive things in the economy. This is a part-time job being a state legislator in New Mexico, and that means that they get paid part-time wages. I think $164 a day is more than enough. In fact, it's way more than what they ought to be getting paid. They ought to get paid a lot less than that.
Especially the job they're doing.
Well, the thing about it is, how come you guys want me to get a job that pays? When I say that I do volunteer work, I pass out political directory, you get mad at me about
that. No, that's not volunteer work. You're being a shill, and I want you to get a real job because you're acting as a parasite. You're taking stolen money for other people, and it's not right. Do you think in a natural society, right, that didn't have this big government apparatus, you'd be able to survive without them?
So then you guys want the legislature to work for free? You're fine with it?
She didn't even answer your question. It was a good question.
But then you get mad at me because I work for free?
No, people get mad at you because you won't have a conversation with them. Because somebody actually says something that's intelligent and asks you a question, and you completely ignore it. You don't know how to have a conversation with people.
Well, what do you say Okay, so that you think my volunteer work is worthless? Is that what you're saying?
If it was worth something, you'd get paid for it.
But you want the legislature to work for free. They get no pay.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's not a real job.
It was a civil service, right? So out of all the things you talk about in volunteering, they should be the ones volunteering. It should be a volunteer position.
Well, you know what? The thing is, we are the only last state. Believe it or not, New Hampshire actually gets paid something. I don't feel that we're the very last one. With
$100 a year.
Well, if they don't like it, they should secede and join Mexico.
Thanks for the call tonight, Sarah. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. I don't know if Mexico wants them.
I was going to say, if you're listening, please, you could have Albuquerque. It's fine.
Hardworking Mexicans don't want to have a bunch of lazy Americans coming in there. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
Mexico would build a wall.
Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free to bring up whatever you want. If you want to take control of the airwaves, you can do that. Our number here is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live brought to you by Liberty.menu. It's exclusively for individuals who reject the initiation of force and who agree to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle. If you qualify to those statements, you really ought to be over on Liberty.menu. If you do a thing, whether it's creating content, like you do, Vincent, you're host your own radio show. Actually, a couple of them now.
Yeah, yep.
One of them's Questioning Authority on Saturday nights here on LRN.FM on our internet streams. And so you can put that up on Liberty.menu. You can also put your business up there. You can also put your event up there that you might be organizing. If you are a liberty-minded person, you're going to love Liberty.menu. It's a super easy-to-use website, and you can do it for free at Liberty.menu. Use code FTL. You'll get a special Free Talk Live listener badge on your profile there. That's Liberty.menu. The story here about Facebook, this one's actually been in my show prep for a couple of weeks, and it was just never like, I didn't want to lead the show with it, but since you talked about the government in the U.S. through Elizabeth Warren talking about targeting Facebook, I thought this was a relevant follow-up here. And again, I say all this as somebody who is quit from Facebook. I spent a decade of my life on Facebook, and I finally quit at the beginning of last year. So I've been gone for more than a year, and it's been great. I highly recommend it. If you've been thinking about getting off of Facebook, I recommend you take the steps necessary to do it. And it is probably something you'll have to wean yourself off of. That's one of the things that I had to do.
Oh, yeah, social media addiction is like a real thing. You have doctors and psychologists talking about it.
But that's not what they're being accused of in this story from The Guardian by people in the government of the UK. They're calling Facebook digital gangsters. Here's the story. Facebook deliberately broke privacy and competition law, and they say should be urgently subjected to statutory regulation, according to a devastating parliamentary report denouncing the company and its executives as, quote, digital gangsters. The final report of the Digital Culture, Media, and Sports Select Committee's 18-month investigation into disinformation and fake news accused Facebook of purposefully obstructing its inquiry and failing to tackle attempts by Russia to manipulate elections. Quote, democracy is at risk from the malicious and relentless targeting of citizens with disinformation and personalized dark adverts from unidentifiable sources delivered through the major social media platforms we use every day. Did you know, Vincent, that the UK government is apparently also concerned about Russians buying ads on Facebook?
Oh, I don't doubt it. I mean, it fits into this whole, I guess, like Western liberal boogeyman that they need Russia to be. Here I was thinking that it would actually be something that would protect people. They were talking about, like, data mining or manipulative practices. But no, of course, it has to fit in with whatever their own agenda is.
The report accuses Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook co-founder and CEO, of contempt for Parliament in refusing 3 separate demands for him to give evidence, instead sending junior employees unable to answer the committee's questions.
Well, and contempt of Parliament, what could that do to an American, right?
I don't think it could do anything. They're just mad.
I wonder if, like, they'll try and block Facebook like they're blocking access to pornography there.
That's a good question. That is a news story that we covered in recent weeks on Free Talk Live, that now in the UK, if you want porn, you have to buy a special access card, as I understand it, in order to get it.
Which is pretty much just creating a database for people. But that's really the only thing they could do.
And they can add Facebook or other websites to that block list.
Because it seems that's really the only thing they could do to them that I would have any effect.
If there's Facebook offices in the UK, they could target them that way, in which case Facebook could just shut down their UK offices and be like, well, we're just going to leave. We'll just take all of our jobs with us.
Well, I was going to say it would probably be a positive for the British people if they don't allow, or like if Facebook stops working for the UK, is blocked. That'd probably be, in my opinion, a positive thing for people.
The report also warns British electoral laws unfit for purpose and vulnerable to interference by hostile foreign actors, including agents of the Russian government attempting to discredit democracy. Calls on the British government to establish an independent investigation into, quote, foreign influence, disinformation, funding, voter manipulation, and the sharing of data unquote, in the 2014 Scottish independence referendum and 2016 EU referendum and the 2017 general election. By the way, when is the Brexit going to happen?
Yeah.
Is it going to be like in the next decade? Do we have another 10 years to wait for this to actually go down?
No, I think it's just been ruined by the British deep state so much that people are going to lose their taste for it, and it's just going to be business as usual, except with a few probably punishments or something on the British people for biting the hand that feeds, that is the EU.
So here's what they want. Labour moved quickly to endorse the committee's findings, with the party's deputy leader Tom Watson announcing, Labour agrees with the committee's ultimate conclusion: the era of self-regulation for tech companies must end immediately. He said further, quote, we need new independent regulation with a tough powers and sanctions regime to curb the worst excesses of surveillance capitalism. Now, that's a new term. I have not heard. Surveillance capitalism is totally fine when the British government installs thousands of CCTV cameras around London and elsewhere and then monitors your every move. But when those dirty capitalists do it, then it's a problem.
And for those unaware, it's like in the UK, there's like three main parties. There's, I guess you have like analogous to Republicans here in the US. There's Party Conservative, and there's the Liberals, and then like DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, that's Labor. So like if the US had a three-party system like the UK or Canada, AOC and those people and Elizabeth Warren would probably be part of American
the Labor Party,
if there was an American one.
The Culture Secretary, Jeremy Wright, who is to meet Zuckerberg to discuss harms resulting from social media, will likely come under pressure to raise the committee's concerns with the Facebook executive chief directly. Launched in 2017, as concern grew about the influence of false information and its ability to spread unscrutinized on social media, the inquiry was turbocharged the following year with the Cambridge Analytica data harvesting scandal. The Observer revealed the company had secretly acquired data that was harvested from millions of Facebook users' profiles and was selling those insights to political clients to allow them to more effectively manipulate political or potential voters. The company has since collapsed into administration. I'm not sure what that means.
Well, and see, notice the outrage isn't because we're data mining all these people. No, the outrage is we're selling that data to people that they don't like.
Right. Because the government loves data. They want to get all the data. It's just when their political enemies have it, they get upset. The committee argues that Facebook, had they abided by the terms of an agreement struck with U.S. regulators in 2011 to limit developers' access to data, the scandal would not have occurred. The 108-page report makes excoriating reading for the social media giant, which is accused of continuing to prioritize shareholders' profits over users' privacy rights. Quote, Facebook continues to choose profit over data security, taking risks in order to prioritize their aim of making money from user data. Hey, I got news for you. That's why they exist. That's the whole point of Facebook, is to make money off of the information you choose to give them. So this whole fight over privacy on Facebook, if you cared about privacy, you wouldn't be on Facebook.
Well, I'll say that's where the utility argument comes in. It's because a lot of people grew up not thinking of Facebook as a company. They would think of it as a social media platform or network, where they don't think of it, say, okay, this is a company that lets me share these pictures of me in exchange for my data or whatever.
Right.
They say, this is like a place that just everyone's on it. You have to get on it, right?
Sure. Nobody reads the terms of service, but I guarantee you will find in those terms of service something to the effect of, whatever it is you upload becomes ours. We can use it however it is we want. If we want to make a slideshow to, pitch our new Facebook feature to some company for investment, and it's got your smiling face guzzling back a bottle of vodka on it at some party, then they can do that. If they think they can make money off of it, they can probably print it up and put it in an art gallery if they thought they could make money off of it. That's not to say that you don't still have rights to that picture, but Facebook has the right, likely, to not exclusively, but to distribute your photos without your knowledge because you gave it to them. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to your calls here. We got Steve on the line in Concord, New Hampshire. I presume Concord, New Hampshire. Listening online. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, so I'm a new mover. And It was recommended to me recently at the New Movers Party at the Quill that I go to Keene as soon as possible and I meet you. Can you tell me what's going on in Keene?
That's a strange thing that happened. Why would they recommend that you move to Keene? Most people in a lot of places
Keene, not move to Keene, meet you.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on a second here, Steve. We'll bring it back here. What's going on in Keene? Well, it's Keene Great right now in Keene. The new restaurant just opened up after international headlines, controversy.
That's Ian's way of saying there's no activism going on.
There's actually quite a bit of activism going on here, as there always is. But we'll talk about the migration to New Hampshire in moments. It's Free Talk Live. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
So we had a call on the line, the very last part of the second hour. Unfortunately, the person dropped off, who said that he was at a new movers party. And so I'm going to do my best to address his call, even though we didn't really get to talk to him for very long. He was at a new movers party, which is something that happens on a monthly basis in Manchester, New Hampshire. And the idea is it's intended to welcome people who are new to New Hampshire, who are libertarians, who've made the migration here, made the move as part of the New Hampshire Freedom Migration. Some of them are Free State Project participants as well, over at freestateproject.org, of course, but not all of them. But anybody who moves to New Hampshire who loves freedom is welcome to go to one of these parties and, meet some of the people in the community. Basically, that's the point. Just welcome to welcome to New Hampshire. Tell us about yourself. Meet people. That's basically the idea. It's a mixer event. And so this guy called to say that when he was at this event, people told him that he ought to either move to Keene or go to Keene.
I don't think move was ever said. Just from what I remember him saying, I think it was just go to Keene and meet you.
I think it is move to Keene because I received a message from Jackie the other day out of the blue. And she says, you'll probably be hearing from a guy named Mo. Now, the person on the phone was not named Mo, but maybe, he changed his name for radio purposes. I don't know. Says that we just met at the new movers party. He belongs in Keene, and I don't mean that in a nasty way. He really, really, really belongs in Keene, so please facilitate his settling there. K, thanks, bye. He showed up wearing a top hat and a black-yellow anarchy flag as a cape, announced that he was a professional graphic designer who accepts crypto and payment, and said the final impetus for leaving Virginia for New Hampshire was he kept getting in fights with the D.C. area cops. She says further in his introduction, he specifically requested information and recommendations for specific municipalities to move to, and we were all, you belong in Keene, LOL,
Very
she
well
says. So maybe that's the same person who called in. Honestly, I don't know. But it's interesting because, normally the reaction that people get when they go to one of these new mover parties and say they're living in Keene is some people are cold to them. Some people treat them very rudely. And there's a certain, we don't want your kind around here mentality, apparently, from these people.
You guys rock the boat. You make the rest of us look bad.
Yeah, well, there are people who say that. And what they're referring to is some of the direct action, kind of the in-the-streets activism that has gone on here in Keene that has resulted in, over the years, a tremendous amount of media coverage being generated from the activism that happens here in Keene. A recent example of the way that Keene stories can blow up in mainstream media is the Keene Great story that I was talking about earlier tonight. Now, that's not a Free Stater who runs that restaurant, but the libertarians and liberty-minded folks in this area are intimately tied with that. Chris Reitman, of course, who's our Thursday night co-host, he is the official distributor at his gift shop of the Fa Keen Great T-shirts and the stickers and the things like that they've got. And of course, a lot of us have been customers of hers because she took Bitcoin and cryptocurrency when she was running her food truck, her Vietnamese food truck. So we're tied in close. I reported on that story at freekeen.com, and I helped it go national by doing that. I was one of the initial people who actually broke that story. So, we can make news happen here in a way that they just haven't done in other parts of the state. So I think to some extent it's a bit of a jealous.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I can't name you a single person. Like, I know there are people saying it, but I can't name anyone who disparages Keen in that way because they're irrelevant, right? I mean, if someone is hostile to actually, direct action, or i.e. doing something other than hanging out in bars or basements, smoking weed and drinking and, arguing with people on Facebook, they're just, they're irrelevant, and I guess we're just as you said, it goes to jealousy.
And, some people can have a disagreement with activism techniques, but okay, fine, just don't do that activism.
Yeah, I mean, what sort of activism is going on in any other part of his state?
There's stuff going on, you just don't hear about it.
Well, exactly. Don't hear about it and I mean, I'm just going to say, a lot of, you don't hear about it nearly as often as Keen, and I think a lot of the stuff in Keen's fizzled out recently.
Sure, I mean, Robin Hooding doesn't happen anymore, but that also had kind of a on and off, I guess, existence during the time that it existed. Some people would kind of pick up the ball and run with it, and then they'd drop the ball and give it to somebody else, and they'd run with it. That's just sort of the nature of things, as they come in cycles as far as activism is concerned.
Well, and the only
There's plenty of activism here in Keene. It's just not it's not like the Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree days, in that it's not as civil disobedience oriented as it once was, and that's because the people run out of the amount of times they can get convicted for stuff. Civil disobedience is not a sustainable form of activism.
And I mean, the only activism I could think of that I hear coming out of Concord, aside from via, legislation, lobbying and such, is via 420 rally, which is organized by someone who's living in Keene and has lived in Keene for the past 10 years, or a better part of the last 10 years.
Off and on. You're talking about Rich Paul?
Yes.
Yeah. He's back now. He's back in Keene, actually living next door here to the studio.
And he's currently organizing the next 420 I mean, it would make sense if someone living in Concord would, be able to organize that, but not disparaging anyone.
Yeah, I mean, look, as far as moving to New Hampshire is concerned, I would never say that Keene is right for everybody. Keene is a small town in the southwest corner of New Hampshire, and if you're looking for a good job, this probably is not the place you're going to find it. It's the city, the county seat, so it's the largest populated area in this region, but this is a not highly populated region.
A lot
period.
Of people even just consider it a part of Vermont at this point.
It is a bit more of a lefty tinge to it out here, but it does have a lot of history to it, and of course you can always go to watch Victimless Crime Spree if you want to get a little taste of what the history has been like over at victimlesscrimespree.com. But wherever you end up in New Hampshire, I'm sure you will find people that you like. If you're a liberty-minded person, there's usually enough libertarians here where you can actually choose who you want to hang out with. And that's a good thing. The fact that some people don't like what goes on in Keene is a good thing. It means that we've done enough here to differentiate ourselves and to make some people say, I would never want to live in Keene. Well, good. We probably don't want you living here either. So you can go to freekeene.com. There's 150 reasons to move to Keene there. If you want to check those out, feel free to go to move.freekeene.com. So there's all kinds of reasons to move out here, but if it's a career decision, you probably want to keep your mind open to everywhere in New Hampshire. If you're looking at moving to New Hampshire, but you need to have the best career opportunities, you probably should keep your mind open to anywhere that has what you're looking for, basically. So those are my thoughts for the caller who unfortunately dropped off the line. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to Uplifting Truth on the lines. You're on Free Talk Live on our Discord server. Is it Uprising? Sorry, it's Uprising Truth, not Uplifting Truth. Uprising Truth. You got to unmute that mic. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going?
There you are. Go ahead with your thoughts.
First off, I had a couple ideas and thoughts I want to throw past you guys. I actually wanted your opinion on abortion because I was talking to some of the people here in the chat, and I think most of us agree that, in my opinion, I'm not going to speak for everyone, that abortion is aggression on another person.
No, I don't think we all agree on that.
However, it is ultimately that person's choice. So it's kind of like a catch-22 in that sense of
Are you saying
whenever someone wants to murder someone else, they have a choice? So I mean, I don't really I don't really get your point either.
Are you calling it murder?
Oh, absolutely.
See, I disagree.
Well,
okay.
Absolutely, I agree it is murder. But it's how do we, in a free society, promote pro-life values or values that you not
I don't
murder.
know. You promote it.
I think he means like in a society, like regarding rules or whatever. That's what.
Well, hang on. If you want uprising. It's hard to read it. Uprising truth. We'll come back to that here if you want to discuss it. You're welcome to stick around. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. And this is one of those things where libertarians disagree as far as whether or not it's murder, whether or not a fetus is an actual human being with full rights. It's Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free. Join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. With you in studio, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
Vincent, you going to Fork Fest this year?
There's a good chance I am, pending a few deals sort of close through. But yeah, there's a decent chance I might go.
Yeah, I heard that you were talking about maybe doing a food vending thing.
Absolutely, I'm
with my roommate.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it works out. It'd be great.
But you've never
there.
been before. You've never been to either Fork Fest or the Porcupine Freedom Festival.
Nope.
Well, up in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, which is a very, very beautiful place to be, especially during the summertime, and this is actually going to be the week just before summer, June 13th through the 18th, there are a group of liberty-minded folks, voluntarists, libertarians, liberty-loving anarchists, people that gather together at Rogers Campground. And again, this is Fork Fest 2019. It's the third year of Fork Fest, which is a fork of a different festival, which is called the Porcupine Freedom Festival. And that one's been going on. I think it's coming up on its 15th year. And so Fork Fest happens the 5 days before the Porcupine Freedom Festival. So if you want to stay up for a full 10-day long, extravaganza in the forest in New Hampshire, you can do that. Now, there's a key difference between these two events, besides the fact that, the one's been around much, much less time, is that Fork Fest does not have a central planner. Fork Fest does not have a set of organizers, a board of directors, or anything like that, and therefore there's no ticket price to get into Fork Fest. There's no security. There's the campground. You still have to get a campsite from the campground, but beyond that, and there are some motel rooms on there, so if you're not into doing the camping thing, there's also RV sites. If you've got an RV, you can bring that up there. But basically, it's self-organized. It is decentralized, meaning that if there's something that you want to see happen, you ought to create that. Or, have somebody else do it for you. Pay them to do it or something like that. So if you want to have a musical event, have a musical event. You want to have a poker game, have a poker game. And announce it. Let people know via the Fork Fest forums or the Fork Fest Telegram chat room, or preferably both of those places, or other places that maybe have yet to have been built by other people, because, again, it's decentralized. So just because there's a Fork Fest forum doesn't mean that somebody else couldn't start their own Fork Fest forum, if you see what I'm talking about. Go check it out at forkfest.party and mark your calendar June 13th through the 18th. That's just over 3 months from now. It's forkfest.party to learn more. As we go back to Uprising Truth, on the line here with us, Jordan in New York, you wanted to talk about abortion specifically, and you sound like that you think that it is a murderous act, but you're not sure what should be done about it in a so-called free marketplace.
Correct.
Gotcha. So here's what I would suggest as a liberty-minded person. Whatever somebody's stance is about the act of abortion, it's really, honestly, shouldn't be anybody else's business. The government shouldn't be involved in prohibiting it, because then you've made a prohibition on something, and then you're just going to drive it into the black market and make it more dangerous and more expensive. So that's not a good thing. Create crime, basically, surrounding the act of abortion. And the government should also not be subsidizing abortions, meaning the government should not be giving money to people that are having abortions or giving money to organizations that are performing abortions for people. So the government ought to stay out of it. As far as how you can convince people on this subject, there are a myriad of ways that people try to communicate on this matter. Some try to scare people out of it. Some show pictures of like gory, fetuses and disgusting, nasty refuse and that sort of thing, and that this sort of scared straight method that might work for some people. Others may just simply try to persuade by sitting down and talking to a good friend. Others may wait until somebody gets knocked up and then have the conversation at that point. I mean, there's different approaches.
Also, what's done with like some of the parts in the refuse and stuff, like companies would buy the parts of these because there's like certain cells and chemicals and stuff in dead fetal or just fetal tissue in general that they can't get anywhere else. So there's like, they would get money too, and they wouldn't tell the people getting the abortion. So like in some cases, theoretically, I didn't look too much into this. I would just hear traces of the story. Someone could pay to get an abortion, and then the company that they pay to do the abortion keeps the parts, and then they get way more money from selling the dead baby parts than they ever had to spend actually giving the abortion itself. So it's a total racket.
Yeah, sort of in the same way that people have stopped using cigarettes because it's become unpopular. It's become uncool over time to do that. Abortion could be the same way. Also, technology can help as well stop or dramatically lower the number of abortions, because eventually you're going to be able to take a fetus out of an unwanting mother and just put it into essentially a medical fetus, something that's not an actual human being, just basically to gestate the baby in a test tube, essentially. So
or just educate that there's plenty of couples who, there's a lot of government red tape regarding adoption, but, there's plenty of people who'd want to adopt.
Sure, so roll back adoption red tape.
And give money too, right?
Yeah. So cut out the adoption regulations and make it easier for people to adopt. Just make it so the Catholic Church or whoever it is that's running the orphanage gets to set their own ruls. And
no, but I think they're all government. There's no private orphanages anymore.
Really?
I understand. I think it's it used to be the church, and that had its problems. I think most there's no orphanages. I think it's all foster care, and that's
that's even terrible.
Yeah, jeez.
I believe it's all government ran now.
So, did that answer your question at all, Corbin?
Yes, it actually did.
All right, cool.
And just to follow up, there was an article from the Center of Medical Progress about Planned Parenthood buying baby parts.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
They paid out a settlement for $7.8 million.
Thanks for the call tonight, Uprising Truth. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I called him Corbin. That was an accident. That's our next caller. Corbin is on the line in Rhode Island. Hello, Corbin. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So, me and my friends having a debate, right? And it's like a legit question. So, if a girl, if a girl hits you, for no reason why, right? For instance, would someone have the right to defend themselves like that?
You're talking about the sort of the societal prohibition on hitting a lady? Is that what you're asking about?
If they hit you first for no reason why.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if there's no reason or a reason. No one should be hitting another person. And so, of course, you have the right to defend yourself. It's just that a lot of people will look down on it.
Right.
Well, Ian, is it... sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. You can say what.
Well, in this case, say and I've seen it before. Say a girl. I'm not going to say ladies because ladies wouldn't initiate violence against someone. If a girl or something hits you. I don't think it would be defensive violence to hit her back, right? That would just be revenge. I mean, unless she's nonstop coming at you. But if some girls do, they get upset, they use physical violence.
Well, yeah, I mean, the appropriate thing to do generally is to stop an attack, right? Rather than to return an attack against an attack or to retaliate, just to simply stop the attack, and then that's that. But you're right, Vincent. If she continues to push, then you absolutely have the right to do something back.
Well, and I'd go as far as to say this whole "you can't hit a lady" thing that emboldens some women into initiating violence too, because they'd hit they'd initiate the violence,
they know they can get away with it.
Yeah, and then someone defends himself, and they start crying and playing the victim.
Yeah. Thanks for the call tonight, Corbin. Appreciate the question. Toll-free number here tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Gangsters, digital gangsters, that's what Facebook's being called by UK real gangsters in government. It's Free Talk Live. We'll tell you more coming up.
We'd like to invite you to visit freekeen.com. FreeKeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. FreeKeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. FreeKeen.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll free to join us right here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm. Hop on over there and get interactive with other Free Talk Live listeners. Discord.lrn.fm. By the way, thanks to T. Hammond, who is a Free Talk Live Gold amplifier at amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It is a way for you to support what it is that we do here on Free Talk Live. If you like what we do, which is to say, talk about freedom, basically 7 nights a week on the radio on 190-plus radio stations, then please join the AMP program, because you can help us get to 200, 250, 300 radio stations. It is possible. More is possible. Just it takes time, it takes effort, it takes money, and so that's primarily where that $5 a month that you send in goes. You can see some of the places that we're spending that money over at amp.freetalklive.com, ampamp.freetalklive.com, as we continue. And yes, you can use Bitcoin. Yes, you can use PayPal and also credit card to do your AMP, and you'll get some cool perks. So head on over there, ampamp.freetalklive.com. Let's go to Free Market Penguin, or Flea Market Penguin, as he's calling himself now, in Virginia. You got to unmute that microphone, Penguin, otherwise we can't put you on the air. There you go. Are you there?
All right, yo, guys.
All right.
I wanted to talk about a really dreadful story, or actually it was like a whole hour-long show I heard on NPR the other day. Really, really moving. And it really, it relates to free markets. So apparently there's a huge uptick in the cost of insulin in the United States, where now it went from like $30 to $50 a vial that lasts a week or maybe two, up to like $300 or more a vial, to the point where there were people that literally, like, it is cost less for some people to fly to Taiwan to stock up on insulin and fly back with it.
Jesus.
Or if there are people that have had to immigrate from the United States just because they have diabetes and cannot afford insulin here, because elsewhere, other parts of the world, it only costs, $20, $30, $40 a vial. And the fact is, here in the United States, for various reasons.
Yeah, what is the reason? Why did the cost go up so much?
Because the drug companies charge that much. And clearly, we know that diabetes is very widespread.
Well, that's not the reason. Hold on. That's when you ask why something went up in price, the answer is not because they charge that much. There must be a reason why.
It's possible that Ian, it's something people need, right? And I don't know of any alternative to it. There might be. Mm-hmm. So if a company, if companies have something that people absolutely need, right, they can put it at whatever price they want. That was the issue people had with Martin Shkreli and whatever medication his company was selling.
The pharma bro?
Well, only not in a free market. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, if there were a free market,
three companies that dominate the market.
Right. If there were a free market, then anyone could enter and compete, and that would drive prices down. But because these governments,
something called the FDA,
right,
that gets in the way of everything, and the government picks winners and losers in these markets.
So the three manufacturers, it's like three manufacturers, big companies like Sanofi and the other ones that are also, like, if pharmaceuticals are pretty big name pharmaceutical companies. They're it's the only one I can
Pfizer,
remember right now.
Merck,
Merck, yeah.
Okay,
some other one. But yeah, they like control all the production, and so clearly the huge demand. It's not new technology. It's synthetic insulin has been around for decades, if not like 100 years. The way to make synthetic insulin with small tweaks along the way, and they protect it through IP. They protect their
intellectual property.
They protect it through IP, intellectual property.
Yeah.
And now we don't have a free market. So elsewhere in the world, you can pay $20 a vial. People are dying because, like, one kid died from his diabetes because he was rationing his last insulin bottle that he got from the funeral of somebody that died from diabetes themselves. That was his last vial. I mean, it's crazy, and there's no reason for it. It's just we have such captured, regulated markets that the companies can get away with charging, like Vince said, for that reason.
Well, just imagine how much better Facebook's going to be when they get to regulating Facebook.
Well, when you first brought up the story, I figured it was a supply issue just because of the amount of hideously obese and or chronically obese people there are in the United States are taking it up.
There are a lot of them.
Yes, but supply could still in a free market or any kind of halfway free market, be ramped up to meet demand. I mean, it would be a temporary problem.
Yeah. Oh no, I understand.
This is an ongoing problem.
And I understand. I agree with you. It most likely is, like 90% the government's fault. I'm just saying.
Well, right, because remember, rising prices in a free market are just an indicator that somebody can make some money.
Yeah, and then you would have competition go up and knockoff brands, and I think that. But I want to say that the amount of chronically unhealthy people in the United States in regards to food habits doesn't play a small part in it.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
It has a lot to do with it also. So.
Flea Market Penguin, any other comments? Go ahead.
I mean, I just want to say that, it's clear evidence of cartel because they were raising prices in lockstep. They're clearly colluding, and the congressman bringing them up before them, demanding answers. Well, the answer is you have a regulated caption market protected by IP. So yes, they're going to cartelize. They're going to collude with their prices and raise them in lockstep. And there's nothing anybody can do about it unless you have free markets.
But wait, that's illegal. It's illegal to raise your prices in lockstep with another company or another person. See, they're breaking the law, so now the government's going to go after them, right?
Jeez, I didn't even know that.
Oh, they're too big to go after.
Yeah, no, they're not going to go after them.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight.
They own the congressman.
Yep, I appreciate it. It's illegal. If you and I were selling a thing in the marketplace and we decided that we wanted to make sure that we raised our prices together, if we were the only two sellers of that thing in the marketplace, then even if we weren't the only two, even if we're just 2 of 100 of them, if we're colluding, that's illegal.
Oh, you meant colluding. I'm sorry. I thought you meant like you just raising it as a natural. Okay, never mind.
No. If we come to an agreement, that's what a cartel does, right? The cartel are companies who've come together under an agreement to lock prices together, basically, in order to protect each other's profits. Now, of course, in theory, somebody could always break the cartel. But
then they get retribution from all the other members.
Yeah, they might. So, toll-free number if you want to join us here, 855-450-FREE. Back to the story here from The Guardian about the critique that the UK government MPs, the Ministers of Parliament, I think is what that stands for. Member of Parliament. Yeah. That they're targeting Facebook, saying it needs to be regulated. They want a new independent regulation, so a whole new bureaucracy to be formed to regulate Facebook.
This is great, Ian. They'll create more jobs.
No, this is not great. And I don't like Facebook, but I will stand up for their freedoms to do a bad business the way they want to do their bad business.
They deserve. You know what? A world's smallest violin, whatever happens to them, they deserve.
We need because you got to stand up for even the worst.
I'm not standing up for bad people,
of
Ian.
These companies. Nope. Because they could target you next. If they get away with targeting Facebook...
They already are targeting me.
Then who's going to be next? So it's important to stand up for people even if you disagree with them.
I mean, Facebook's for buddy, too. All these big tech companies are for buddies. So, I mean,
it's hard to feel sorry.
Right?
It is hard to feel sorry for them. I'll give you that. The culture secretary, who's going to be meeting Zuckerberg, says that he wants to discuss the harms that are resulting from social media. The committee argues that had Facebook abided by the terms of an agreement struck with U.S. regulators in 2011, Cambridge Analytica thing wouldn't have happened. Zuckerberg continues to choose to profit over data security, taking risks in order to prioritize their aim of making money from user data. Continuing, they said that Mark Zuckerberg continually fails to show the levels of leadership and personal responsibility that should be expected from someone who sits at the top of one of the world's biggest companies, said Collins in a statement. As though these people have any idea how to run a company. These bureaucrats and politicians. This is the chairman of this committee, Damian Collins. This guy's a professional politician. He's a liar and a thief and a huckster for a living. And, you may not like Mark Zuckerberg, but at least he's a success. And he did it all, basically by creating a product that hadn't existed before.
No, he copied from the Winklevoss twins. He did a lot of bad things.
More coming up. Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We got enough time for you if you jump on the lines right now. Or you can wait 15 or so minutes, 20 minutes, and then we will be on Twitch only. We're going to do freer Talk Live. It's the Free Talk Live after show. It happens only on our Twitch channel at twitch.lrn.fm. So if you're not yet following the Twitch channel, please do that, because not only will you get to watch Free Talk Live, but also your show, Vincent, Questioning Authority, which happens Saturday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right after Free Talk Live. And there's also Call to Freedom, which happens weekdays from 4 to 7 Eastern Time in the afternoon. And actually, now Ernie Hancock in the mornings is doing his show, but he's got his own Twitch channel. But we will syndicate it basically on the LRN channel. So if you're on twitch.lrn.fm, then you can watch a bunch of different shows that are on the Liberty Radio Network. And there's a chat room there on Twitch as well. And again, there's these occasional after shows that we're going to do. One of them tonight on twitch.lrn.fm. So head over there and hit the follow button. And further, if you are a Amazon Prime subscriber, and a lot of people are, one of the benefits that Amazon gives to you that you may not know about is you get a free Twitch subscription. One free Twitch subscription every month. So if you've got your Twitch account linked to your Amazon account, then it's super easy to just do that subscription for free and give it to LRN's channel. So please do that, and we'd appreciate it because it helps. It's just a couple bucks, basically, that Amazon will send us, Twitch will send us via Amazon, that otherwise Amazon's just going to keep. So if you want to send it to us, then please do over at twitch.lrn.fm. All right, so again, that's coming up here in a little bit. We're talking about the hatred towards Facebook. And I don't hate Facebook, okay? And I don't know anything about Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know how honest or dishonest of a business person that he is. But whatever whatever your foibles are, or whatever his foibles are, or whatever your critiques are of him, the fact is his business, Facebook, was built voluntarily, meaning that the people who joined it joined on their own volition. The people who stayed and continued to use it, even after all the scandals and after all the controversy and after all the the news coming out that they're using addictive gambling techniques to get people to continue to use their service and to stay addicted to it. So there are a lot of valid critiques and concerns surrounding Facebook. I'll agree. But they did it all without ever pointing a gun at somebody, which is, of course, what the government does. And that's why it's particularly ironic for these government goons to be referring to Facebook as digital gangsters. So this is another statement here from this committee in the UK. Damian Collins is the chairman of the, quote, Digital Culture, Media, and Sport Select Committee. They did an 18-month-long investigation into so-called fake news and came out with a ridiculous, 100-plus page report here about Facebook, saying, quote, few individuals have shown contempt for our parliamentary democracy the way Mark Zuckerberg has. If one thing is uniting all politicians of all colors during this difficult time for our country, it is our determination to bring him and his company into line. So that's what they want to do. They don't think he's obedient enough. And as you pointed out, Vincent, the Facebook company is in bed with the government. I mean, they are no strangers to working with state agencies and federal agencies, and assuredly with, Scotland Yard or whoever is over there.
In Germany, they're working very closely with the government to monitor speech, and if someone says something that's illegal under, Germany's
German
ridiculous law, they have a cop sent up and they get arrested.
Wow.
So that's I forgot about that. So now if it's possible, I even have less sympathy, which is none. So it is impossible. But I think it's more evidence to say they're getting what they deserve.
The report warns Facebook it's using its market dominance to crush rivals, shutting them out of its systems to prevent them from competing with Facebook or its subsidiaries. Well, why would it want to allow rivals into its systems? I mean, that doesn't make much sense. But maybe what they're talking about is how, like, you can't easily syndicate posts to Facebook now. Meaning if you know, it used to be that if you posted on Twitter, that you could then have that get picked up onto Facebook. There used to be an actual, like, interaction app between Facebook and Twitter that Facebook actually provided. They allow Twitter basically to use their API to allow you to sort of cross-post. They stopped that. So I think that's what they're referring to here when they're talking about letting their competitors access their systems. So Facebook was basically like, no, we don't want to let you post to Facebook from some other website. You have to come to us to do it. The committee also released new internal Facebook documents obtained from the company's legal dispute with a company called 643, which said that it, quote, highlights the link between friends' data and the financial value of the developer's relationship with Facebook. Companies like Facebook should not be considered to be, or not be allowed to behave like digital gangsters in the online world, considering themselves to be ahead of and beyond the law. Toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And then they get into the kind of the lame-o response from Facebook to all this. So that's pretty much the story there on Facebook. And if you want to comment, of course, you know, you're welcome to. You can bring up anything that you want here on Free Talk Live. Definitely a story that I wanted to cover that we just didn't have time for tonight is Massachusetts and other states and their marijuana sales, and looking at the numbers and finding out that, oh, turns out the black market actually still has the majority of marijuana sales. Now, why is that?
I mean, I'd say, like, from a personal standpoint, knowing nothing about prices down there, I'd say, like, one big reason people would probably get it, you know, in secret, right, for the black markets, because since it's still Schedule 1 federally, right, if you're a gun owner or if you have children, you know, you might end up on a list of people who bought marijuana. You could end up losing your guns, losing your kids, also getting fired from your job, all sorts of issues.
Yes, and it's just a lot cheaper in the black market due to all the insane taxes and regulation that has been put.
It's
in
like,
these
what,
various
20% in Massachusetts?
In Massachusetts, yeah, 20% at the retail level.
Cumulative, like all the taxes they put on.
No, it's just a retail tax of 20%. I don't know if there are wholesale taxes in Massachusetts. I'm not sure about that.
From what I remember, I thought it was like versus the state tax, and then townships could put a tax, and all of that added up to 20%. It's not just like
you may be right.
Flat thing.
Yeah, you might be right, but it's at the retail. So I don't know if there's a wholesale tax, meaning that when the grower sells to...
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about retail. Yeah,
right. So there may be other taxes. I just don't know for sure. I have not looked in detail at the Massachusetts laws. There's a story that is in the news, Vincent, and I don't think we can talk about it on the radio. I think we should save this for the uncensored or less sensory after show.
Can you give a hint about what it's about to get people's interest?
There's certain things in the world of radio that you just can't broach, right? Like
before or after 10 p.m.?
After 10, well...
On the radio.
In broadcast radio in the United States, you're talking about this sort of safe zone or whatever.
Well, it's like, well, you know, you can't break the FCC rules about words, but you can get into, like, indecent material.
You can be indecent after 10 p.m. Eastern Time on the radio in the United States.
So would you be,
but you can't be what's called obscene.
So is this obscene or indecent?
I don't honestly know, because the difference between obscenity and indecency is really kind of hard to suss out.
If this was if we were at 10:01 right now, would you be able to read? Would you feel comfortable reading it?
No, just because when in doubt,
this is a good one.
This is about a politician. I'll tease what it's as much as I can. I'm going to try to say as much as I can about this story. It comes from RT, Russia Today, RT.com. It's about the Brazilian president, and I don't know how you pronounce this guy's name. Jair, Jair, Jair Bolsonaro, has received a deluge of criticism after tweeting an explicit video of something that happens at a performance at Carnival, and then followed up by claiming to not understand the term that he used. Let's just say it's a shower with a color in front of it.
It was the... Well,
I think just saying the terms would probably be okay because it doesn't say specifically what it is. Essentially, it's a euphemism, but I still am not comfortable saying those terms on the radio.
I didn't listen to much radio about it, but it was that's what the Dirty Dossier covers of the whole, Russiagate thing. So I imagine it would be all right, but, since we teased it so much, people...
Dirty Dossier?
Yeah, the whole... that thing BuzzFeed released about Trump, what he did, what he alleged...
Oh, in the hotel room.
Yeah, which was, even the creator of the dossier, Christopher Steele, he refuses to talk about it. It's just obviously made up.
Okay, so this is the president of Brazil posting an explicit video and then acting like he didn't know what he just posted. We'll tell you more about it coming up here in a few minutes on our Twitch-only after show, because we can get explicit there. Twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Make sure you follow us there, and we'll see you tomorrow night for more Free Talk Live on the radio at freetalklive.com. But more again coming up in moments at twitch.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. You can order your copy of the Director's Cut DVD now at victimlesscrimespree.com.